Hey, this is Soundest. I've recently been watching a lot of Tyler the Creator interviews, especially in his Tyler Talks with Converse. He just consistently has compelling talks about music and creativity in general, and they're just fascinating to listen to, even if you don't like his music or haven't really listened to it. I haven't actually listened to his music yet, but in his Instagram Presents interview, he says he loves music more than anything, and basically even his mom knows that he puts it above all of his other relationships. And that kind of made me understand him and drawn to him, because I fully understand that feeling and I kind of operate in that mode as well. In his Sydney interview, he talks about how he writes the same verse 4 different ways. It helps him see all sides of his thought process, and he can look at the concepts behind his ideas in different ways. He also mentions how important it is to get excited about the little things. Even if it's just a $2 piece of pizza or just, hanging outside with friends, he just takes everything in and he doesn't take even the small things for granted. In his Paris interview, he talks about how Paris has its own ecosystem, and he broadly talks about how travel in general helps with your own world building. He kind of highlights how LA, which is where he lives, has really saturated bright colors. He likes to wear shorts there a lot. He appreciates that there are a two-way street and low buildings, and he contrasted that with places like Paris or other places in Europe where there are really tall buildings, or even New York where there are really tall buildings and it's hard to see the sky. He kept on reiterating that he needs to see the sky. His advice to creators who feel like giving up due to financial constraints is that everything is figure outable. So I would say, building off of that, like, creative problems require creative solutions. So, if you can't build something one way, don't abandon the project. Find a way around it, or a way to go over it or under it. You kind of gotta get at everything from every angle you can if you're really driven to pursue your creativity in that way. He also says he wants society in general to get back to a place where people can articulate how they feel about music and clothes and artistry. He talked about how people would say something's mid, but they won't even care enough or be invested enough to say what their true opinion is, other than just kind of writing it off as mid. He also mentioned how a lot of people will kind of do like a preview for their music, and they won't just splash it all out and just put everything on the table. And so he talked about how important it is for people to just stand by their work and promote the hell out of it. And he was talking about how he was still promoting a project from a year ago, and he was going just as hard with the promotion a year later. In terms of making music, he talks about the importance of texture as a dynamic in music, how everything doesn't have to sound super crisp and clear or clean if that doesn't actually accurately impart the emotion or the sentimentality of the moment. In terms of life and creativity, he says that he's the king of pivoting and adapting. In his LA interview with Converse, he mentions that it's important not to edit while you're creating. And he also mentions how, while it's good to have a cheerleader in someone else, you gotta be your own cheerleader. One interesting exercise he talked about was how during COVID he would draw himself every day for a week, and he mentions how it can transform how you see yourself, and you notice things like what stay in the drawing and what you add to the drawing. When someone asks where he starts when he's working on a project, he says he'll start with a feeling, and then he'll draw out the details surrounding that feeling, and that then leads to world building. And one thing that he mentioned in all of his interviews is that he really is outside. And he kind of emphasized that he doesn't mean outside like at a club or, at different venues. He means like outside. He'll be in nature, or he's on the street. He'll walk. He mentioned how he's maybe one of the only people who walks in LA, but he really is outside. And that lends itself to his creativity.